Welcome, everyone, to the Sonoma Spiel. My name is Tim with the Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau. We had a little rainstorm that came through Sonoma Valley earlier this week, and it leaves these big, impressive clouds up against the hills. These kind of clouds that Bob Ross used to paint, if you remember Bob Ross from PBS. And he had happy trees and fluffy clouds, and these big, fluffy white clouds. And what's nice is when it rains here in November, which is when we're taping this, in Sonoma Valley, the farmers are kind of tucking their crops in for the winter, right? They're putting down some of the brassicas, like the cauliflowers and the broccolis and all those things you hate when you're a kid, but then you really appreciate when you're older because you can roast them with olive oil and salt and they taste fantastic. And they put in some garlic. There's a guy at the farmer's market who really knows garlic and will talk your ear off about garlic. He is to garlic what Jimmy the pumpkin guy is to pumpkins. And he's getting those in the crop, in the ground right now, because they'll overwinter and they'll become scapes in the spring and then they'll become bulbs. That's it. That's what, if they do it. If I do it, they just rot in the ground because I'm horrible at doing this. And in November, December, we all start thinking about, what kind of wines we're going to pair with our Thanksgiving and our Hanukkah and our Christmas and our New Year's and all of our different holidays. And that's kind of a fun thing. People are starting to think about, do we shift from the rosés to the Pinot Noirs and the Zinfandels and the Merlots? And they're kind of moving there. As I drive up the valley, leaving Sonoma Springs and head towards Glen Ellen, there's these beautiful golden vineyards, and they kind of like cascade up the hills right now. And soon they'll start turning more yellow and then red and then go away. And it's this beautiful, wonderful time to be in Sonoma Valley. So this is a perfect time to talk about what the farmers are doing and how they're preparing for the next season and the next harvest. And for this reason, this week I have a very special guest. I know every time I say that, every time I say I have a very special guest, but this time I actually mean it. She's with Farm Trails, and it's Carmen Snyder. How are you, Carmen?
I'm good. Glad to be here, Tim. Thank
Good.
you.
Did you see the Bob Ross clouds out there, like fluffing around in the sky? They're nice, fluffy, big.
I missed that. I will look for that on my way home.
should, yeah.
I was kind of focused on directions.
Getting here.
Yeah.
Getting here. Carmen, you're with Farm Trails.
I am.
Can you tell me what that is?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
So Sonoma County Farm Trails is a nonprofit that was founded in 1973.
Okay.
So 51 years old now.
Wow. Okay.
By a group of forward-thinking farmers who wanted to find a way to create direct sales.
Okay.
But farmers and the ag commissioner at the time.
Okay.
So they had this idea that there were so many farm stands throughout Sonoma County that they would create a map and plot the farm stands on the map and do a little directory and tell what people offered to bring the greater Bay Area to Sonoma County and locals alike,
Right.
so that they could shop directly from the farm stands.
1974, you said.
73.
73.
So before farmers markets,
Were a big thing. Yeah.
CSAs, before internet,
Before Michael
obviously.
Pollan and all that stuff.
It's
Before
kind of
Alice
a modern
Waters.
local food movement
Yeah, you guys are kind of the beginning there.
and the original agritourism organization.
Oh.
And so a lot of, so we have, and the mapping guide developed over the years from just a,
Was it like
full
back?
out.
Yeah, there's probably a mimeograph back in the day. This like really crude map,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Although it probably had whimsical drawings on it in the
It did,
70s.
yeah.
Okay. And did it direct people to like, here's a place for apples, here's a place for eggs, or was it just here are the stands, see what they have?
It plotted the stands on the map, and then it gave a directory, like who's got apples, who's got pheasants, who's got rabbits, who's got Christmas trees.
Oh, wow.
A lot of apples.
Right.
And apple tasting rooms even in 1973.
Apple tasting rooms. That was a thing.
That was a thing, yeah.
You got to bring those back. You can go
I
taste
wish
apples.
I wish I had brought
Like
the original for you to see.
Yeah, like you just sit there and like there's a bunch of apples and you try like this is a Jonah Gold, this is a Macintosh.
I think so. And even like, different presses and
Really? I love that.
yeah.
Okay.
And so, and we had some seminal wine members too.
Okay,
But
okay.
just, I think there were 4 in the first
Yeah.
publication.
And the wine business wasn't quite the same model that it is now,
No.
51 years later,
Yeah.
or something like that. I heard you guys were the first such organization, perhaps in the country.
Farm Trails was, yeah.
Good, because if not, I've been lying to people for like
No,
20
that's
years.
true.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a lot of farm trails, and then of course there's Wine Road and Cheese Trails and
Right.
all these other,
Offshoots of that.
offshoots. But even the other networks around the country that call themselves farm trails are,
Kind of, they watch what you guys did.
yeah, and we happily share what has
Right.
worked for us. We've never licensed. It's not a.
Yeah.
I mean, it's technically a trademark, but we don't.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
I should have said, then it's Carmen Snyder with Farm Trails trademark
Trademark.
are registered. Yeah.
But we're not, affiliated per se, but we do share
Okay.
industry
Like best practices. and
best
stuff like that.
practices. And yeah, just, one of the ways that we have been able to be successful and be sustainable is that we have a signature event every year as a fundraiser.
Okay. So tell me about that event. What's that?
That's the Gravenstein Apple Fair.
One of my favorites.
Yes, so good. And so the Gravenstein Apple Fair was also started in 1973 by the founders of Farm Trails
Okay.
to be the fundraiser for the organization.
Also, they're hand in hand. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as you know, it's a quintessential Sonoma
Right.
County event. It's really lovely. It's still focused. It's in prime Gravenstein season during peak harvest,
Got it.
and is a celebration of all Sonoma County agriculture,
It's
food and libations.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, we've talked about it before, but the Gravenstein is a type of apple that Sonoma County is famous for. West Sonoma County, of course, it grows. You can grow it anywhere. You can order, scions and grafts and stuff and grow your own. But it was a huge industry here at one time,
Yeah.
and it's kind of coming back in the sense that once it was put on the slow food
Arc of
list, the
Taste,
Arc of
yeah.
Taste, and it was like, here, this is a heritage apple that we want to preserve. But what I love about this event is, of course, it's all the amazing food and stuff like that. But it's just so family friendly and so like ag focused
Yeah.
and crafters and makers. And I think it really represents a lot about Sonoma County and what we do here. Why? Okay, do other people have like big apple fairs and stuff like that, like Washington or something like that? They must.
They must. I've never, and in the Northeast as well, I think too.
Right, that must be
I have
a
not
thing.
ever been to another apple fair. I should get
Yeah,
out there.
we
Because
should
probably
probably-
most of them are in the fall because
Right.
the Gravenstein's the earliest apple.
Yeah, ours, that's like July or in August is when it usually starts ripening, right? So, and then it doesn't travel that well, so it was ciders and pies. But with my understanding is apples that got developed for size and shippability.
Exactly.
Gravenstein wasn't as fancy. So when you're a kid like me, growing up in the 80s, everything was, you had 2 apples. You had Red Delicious and the yellow ones,
Yep.
which were sort of tart Granny Smith style.
Yep.
And that was it. And they tasted like paste.
Yep.
And they were hard as hell. You could throw them in rocks.
Yeah, or kind of mealy and yeah.
And now we have like so many different varieties
Yeah.
that I think is part of that renaissance of different types of, heirloom varieties that
Yeah, and just the
grandparents.
amazing diversity
Yeah.
in the apple world.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Carmen, are you an apple farmer by trade? Like, did you grow up in the apple
I
world?
am not at all. No,
Yeah. Were you a farmer? Or you grew up on a farm?
I did not.
You have I can tell by your accent that you're from the eastern part of Sonoma County. So in the southeastern part, where every once in a while I'll hear it. Where did you grow up, Carmen?
I grew up in South Carolina.
And every once in a while I'll hear a slight southern accent out of you. What brought you out to California?
I moved here in 2009
Okay.
for a couple of reasons. I was struggling. I was living in an intentional farming community, actually, in western North Carolina, just outside of Asheville, an area that's just been devastated recently.
Oh, right.
of
Yeah, I
course.
saw that. Yeah.
And that's where I developed a love, a deep appreciation for farmers, a love of homesteading. Like
Okay.
I'm a pretty good gardener, but I just watched the farmers and, like they'd have these rows of bok choy and a little flea beetle would come by and they're all wiped out or
Right.
something. The basil would get a blight. And
Yeah.
we'd be all of a sudden just, harvesting and reaping the benefits of their tragedy, but they
Right.
would share it
Pesto
with
for
neighbors.
everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And so I love processing food. I learned there how to milk and make cheese and
Okay, did you grow up in a
ferment.
city though, like in South
I
Carolina?
grew up in a pretty
Like a-
big-sized city in
okay.
South Carolina, kind of suburban.
Huh.
My parents were definitely great cooks. Both
Okay.
of them cooked and loved food and loved hosting, and we always had, a
Okay.
home-cooked meal around the dinner table. But they did not garden or farm. And so I had a love of, like, I guess an Epicurean
Right,
affinity.
right.
But it wasn't until my 20s when I moved up to North Carolina that I really got kind of turned on to organic food and started investing in,
And that sort of, you said an intentional community, which is,
and then lived in this intentional farming community.
wow,
Yeah.
how very, that's almost very Northern California of you, but I know
It's the
out there
oldest
as well.
intentional community
Is it?
in the country that's still existing.
It's not the farm, is it? It's not the Ena Mae Gaskin place where like they
No,
have
but it's-
babies and stuff?
Yeah, not the farm. That's Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee.
This is, it's called CeeLo, and it was founded by Quakers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Although you don't have to be Quaker to live there. It's
Okay.
not a. It's a intentional community organized around how you care for the land. So you can buy the house, you lease the land, and the only rules of the community. There's no dogma. It's not a spiritual community per
Right.
se. But you can't use Roundup.
Okay.
You have to get permission or consensus to cut a tree that, say, is any larger than 6 inches in
A significant
diameter.
tree, right? Okay. That sounds cool.
Yeah. So it was lovely. A lot of artists there and professors and
Right.
homesteaders.
And I've never been there, but I know that area here is like mountainous and valleys, very
Yeah,
green.
it's beautiful.
Is that where, like, I think, like, oh gosh, like Last of the Mohicans was filmed in some state
Yeah.
park near there? Yeah. And
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. Is that must be the part of the Appalachian Mountains coming down? Wow. So you're there and you're like, I got to go to California because this is too green, too lovely. I know it's dry.
Well, you know what it was, honestly, is that I have a very delicate immune system, and Western North Carolina is the most biodiverse place in the whole country,
Lots of pollen.
except for pollen, but also molds. So many plants, and I developed this pretty significant allergy to molds, and it was just kind of tanking my energy.
Okay.
And I traveled to California and to New Mexico a good bit, and I always felt more vitality.
Got it. You know, and
kind of
that's
for health
that
reasons.
actually, we're here in Sonoma Valley. We've spoken to the Springs, which is just north of here town. That was where people would come to take the waters and kind of get away
Yeah.
from San Francisco, which was kind of foggy
Yeah.
at the time. But there are plenty of people, like their sanitariums were there for their health.
Yeah.
So, wow. Well, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah,
That's nice.
thank you.
And did you come for the Farm Trails job, or did you find it
No.
kind of accidentally?
I did not. I was married. Well, I came also for my husband's job.
Oh, okay,
He worked in the green energy sector, and
okay.
husband at the time. So he had an opportunity, and I was feeling willing to move because of my
Got it.
health challenges.
Okay.
And I was teaching yoga at first, and I had been in North Carolina an organizer for the Southeastern Permaculture Gathering, and was connected with nonprofits and food and farming, but not from a producer side,
Right,
from
okay.
more in the kitchen side and
Wow.
event side. And so I just happened to be kind of perusing Craigslist, I guess,
Yeah.
and saw that Farm Trails was hiring an office manager.
Okay.
And I started in January of 2011.
Okay.
And I really wanted to get connected
Right.
to the permaculture community here and to my local farmers, because that had become such an important part of my life.
Got it. Can you explain what permaculture is?
Yes, permaculture is a systems way of approaching being on the land and growing food to be in maximum accordance
Okay.
with the land, with the terrain, the water sources.
So sort of like a more regenerative. I've heard that.
Exactly.
I've heard also the classic American farmer idea is you're out on the plains, you rip up all the soil, you disc it, you plant your corn, your monocrop.
Yeah.
You put a bunch of inputs, fertilizers, oftentimes derived from petroleum, into the ground. You grow that monocrop, you cut it.
Release all the carbon.
And then I've heard of permaculture. A lot of it is, they don't. What is Sam Couturier here? He always says, we don't farm in dirt, we farm in soil,
Yeah.
and it's a living thing. And it's not a monocrop. You've got to have, like you said, systems,
Diversity
diversity, respect for the bugs. You're not throwing a lot of chemicals down. If you are throwing something, it might be sulfur. It might, there's all different levels. I understand this, but I know in Sonoma County there is a much greater appreciation for I will give up some yield for some better soil health and health for myself and my family and my workers
And for the wilds.
and for for like everyone out there. And there's a lot of permaculture stuff. We have the Sonoma Garden Park is here in town, and actually I think they're a member of yours, matter of fact, or maybe Sonoma
they are.
Ecology Center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in West County, Occidental Arts and Ecology Center.
they have an
is
amazing
long time permaculture training.
Oh, people can go out there and learn
center.
how to do
Yeah.
it. Oh, okay.
I've never had a training, but I've been
No. I just kind of
adjacent.
I just kind of half-ass it by going on YouTube videos and Mother Earth News and telling my wife I don't want to do a lot of yard work, so it's permaculture. So you throw a lot of mulch out
But
there.
a lot of it is like they talk about stacking functions and putting the things closest to your house.
Yeah.
Your culinary garden
Yep.
and your, it's very pragmatic too.
It is.
Yeah.
Someone once told me that you should never garden farther than like a 4-year-old can throw a rock. After that, it becomes wild. Right. So like if for your actual intensive gardening, like flowers and stuff, because what are you doing? Like you're way out there, you're 100 feet from your house. Like no, that's the woods.
Yeah.
If you live out in the country. If you live where I live, you just threw it through the neighbor's window.
Yeah,
That's a problem.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, tell me now with Farm Trails, you have a bunch of different members.
Yes.
Can you explain the different types of people that are part of Farm Trails?
Sure. So Farm Trails has about 220 members.
Okay.
It's a membership organization. We do an annual membership drive, which is coming up here soon.
Okay.
And the makeup of the Farm Trails categories even changes
Oh, I'm sure.
over the years. Like, for instance, something in my time that I've seen really expanding is the flower farms. We have a lot of flower farms, and I love that trend that for events and weddings, people are...
Oak Hill Farm here in Glen Ellen, they grow a lot of
They do.
Flowers. I didn't even know the names of them, but they're beautiful. They bring them.
And there are also even flower CSAs, like where you
really?
where you can sign up for
Oh, yeah.
a monthly.
My
or
wife's friend
weekly.
does that. Moon something or other. I don't know if she's a member, but she does it in her backyard. And she essentially provides flowers.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a smart idea.
So another industry that kind of popped up during my time, actually, was the craft cider industry.
Oh, yes.
So the value-added products
I love that.
from the ciders. And at the Apple Fair, we have a big craft cider tent, which
You
I think
do.
is one of the largest
I prefer to call it
convergences.
apple preservation. Long-term apple preservation in a bottle.
Yeah,
Yeah, the ciders are phenomenal now. We got a lot more cider houses opening up.
yeah.
When I mentioned to you that when Rick from Palm Apple Cider here in Sonoma, they're a cider bar, and they have them all over. And he said how great it is to be in Northern California, where this cider renaissance is happening.
Yeah.
And I know here you got some from Tilted Shed. We've got there's many different. Of course, now I'm blanking on their names. There's many different people who make cider here.
There's Horse and Plow and Bardo and Ethic. And I mean, we had 19 different local cider producers, and we
great.
defined that like within, oh gosh.
Is it like North Coast or like
No, I think it's
Mendocino?
some Mendocino. I think we said within, I can't remember if it was 60 miles or 80 miles.
Right.
There was
I remember it was predominantly Sonoma County. I think a couple from like maybe Ukiah or up north where apples do quite well.
Yeah.
And you also had a lot of non-alcoholic ciders there too, which is nice because
that's a new.
it's also weird. In American English, cider means both non-alcoholic and alcoholic cider.
Yeah, it does. And so we, pretty much the way we delineate it at the Apple Fair just internally is like if we're talking about juice, pressed apple,
Oh, right.
which could be called cider, we're calling that juice.
Okay.
And we're calling the
The stuff that got a little fermentation behind it.
fermented, we're calling that cider rather than hard cider.
Oh, right.
You know,
Gotcha.
some people say that.
Yeah, that's it. And it is interesting that in Europe, Spain, France, England, cider is a huge hard cider or cider is a big drink. And I think here, especially with gluten-free, a lot of people are seeking out ciders, and I love them. They're so good.
Yeah, we started the cider tent at the Apple Fair in 2013 with 2 producers.
Okay.
And then it grew every year, and now we're up to 19. And it, for the last 4 years, has been the most popular tent.
Oh, it's popular. Yeah.
It's packed. I mean, we have world-class wines. We have amazing microbrews. Those are
I know
fabulous,
you have like
too.
the number one Pinot Noir guy in the corner, and he's like, "Hello,"
Yeah.
like getting cider over there.
Yeah.
But you know, he can go to the wine event too.
Yeah.
That's, you also have going back to the apple fair. You have an apple press, a basket press, and people can put their apples in there and they squish them around and drink fresh juice.
Yes, Slow Food Russian River
That's great.
puts that on for us, and they just have you can taste it immediately.
It is so good.
And I love it too because we have it close to the entrance, and so when
Yes.
you're coming in, you see the farm animals.
Yes.
And you smell the apple juice.
You can literally smell it. It's and I love it. It's sort of like when things are fermenting here, you can smell the fermentation of the air. It was a good time. I also go ahead.
Oh, so just anyway, back to your original questions. But we have row crop producers, we have ranchers, we have cheesemakers,
Right.
we have fiber farmers.
Oh, part of the fiber shed, as they say. Yeah. So people who, in that case, it's like wool right, from mainly sheep, but also not wool. Rabbits have fur that you can make into, those furry rabbits. What are they called? Yeah. Here I am, a regular 4-H guy. The furry rabbits, because I've seen them out in West County at the that one place. And so these are all places that are part of farm trails.
Part of farm trails, and we're also, our mission boiled down is to keep farms forever in Sonoma County, and so we want to support the economic viability of local farmers. We want to promote them. We want to drive business to them. We want to facilitate direct sales and encourage direct sales. And also part of our mission is to educate the public about the importance of supporting local food systems. So we have chefs, we have value-added products too. We have restaurants that are farm to table as part of our membership.
That's what I love, people that use
system.
Yeah, and I love it that it connects people to their food. I think you and I are of the age where we didn't grow up on farms. Our parents didn't grow up on farms. Right. So you might have to go down 3 generations before someone left a farm to go to a city. And then when you can live your whole life just assuming that, chicken comes in plastic and corn comes wrapped in, the Trader Joe's thing already.
Yeah.
So you're disconnected from your food source. So one, you might be encouraged to waste it more and not be respectful that if you're a meat eater, an animal gave up its life for that. And if you are eating vegetables and stuff, that the classic waste, no, people worked really hard on this. Yeah. There's an entire ecosystem of people out there.
Yeah.
And I love that about farm trails is you have the chance to go meet the growers and get out there.
And to understand, I think also the true cost of well-grown food, like understanding all the inputs, the effort, the systems, the staffing, the soil building
it's a
that
large
go into
process.
feeding us.
Yeah. You guys also have, in addition to the Apple Fair, you have seasonal events, don't you?
We do. So the Apple Fair is the annual fundraiser, and it certainly is a celebration of all. There's tons of Farm Trails members participate in it, and the Gravenstein is always going to be the star of the show too because of it's the
big one.
It's the namesake heirloom. And the Apple Fair really funds all of Farm Trail's operations and initiatives throughout the year. So everything else we do throughout the year, the seasonal tours that we produce are free to the farmers. They're free to the public. So the Apple Fair allows and
for running the website, printing out the maps,
the
doing
marketing,
all the publicity,
exactly, the staffing.
Because you do something in winter, I think, right?
We have an initiative right now that's just ramping up. It's called Holidays Along the Farm Trails.
Oh, okay.
And this one is not. It's the only. Well, actually, that's not true. We do an apple campaign now in the fall.
Oh, okay.
It's not just one dedicated weekend where members open up their barnyard doors and gates. This goes all the way through New Year's. Okay. So we want to do everything we can to help people to be a resource for our local and Bay Area consumers to help them find gifts for their holiday.
So like honey or something like that.
Yeah, honey
Lavender
or plant starts or soap or olive oil or value added.
Wreaths.
So-
I know wreaths are a big thing.
Wreaths, Christmas trees.
Yeah.
So gifts, and also we want them to source locally for their feasts. There's so many feasts that happen.
Oh, you're right.
The course of the
I know. I've
next-
already got my stretchy pants, so I'm ready for the season, lady. Yeah, I mean, there's everything from there are locally grown turkeys if you're gonna have a turkey for Thanksgiving. There's also the squirkies. My brother-in-law is famous for his Hubbard squash turkey. We call it squirky.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different products and stuff you can get here. There's even people growing
Almost
cranberries.
all of them. Yeah.
I didn't know that. So everyone thinks of cranberries as they're a Wisconsin or Massachusetts thing, but I guess they can grow here too. We just don't flood them, and they're not as big.
Yeah.
It was on the Sonoma County gardening resource page.
Yeah,
Like, oh, I never knew that.
Should look and see.
I know.
We have the cranberries.
And we got blueberries out in West County. And, I mean, of course, that season's over. But what I love is that what I'm seeing with right now is a lot of dried fruit that we grew. A lot of root vegetables are still out there. And then to your point, like the value-added products.
Yeah, and greens and the squashes. I love this time of year. The delicata, the butternut.
And the kabocha. Kabocha?
Yeah.
I like making the pumpkin soup, but it's not really pumpkin. I guess all pumpkins aren't really pumpkins. They're actually all gourds. We just call them pumpkins. I love those soups, especially at some of those restaurants. They make these fantastic, like creme fraiche inside of it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
A little bit of ginger.
It is good. Are you a big farmer yourself? Do you have a big garden, or is it like the cobbler's kids have no shoes kind of thing?
I have basically a culinary garden and some fruit trees and some greens. And I'm always aiming for a little more work-life balance, and that's something I would like to cultivate is more time in the garden for sure. I support local farmers markets.
Oh, yeah.
I subscribe to a CSA.
Okay.
So
What is a CSA? What does that mean?
Community supported agriculture.
Okay.
And it's actually the best model for farmers in terms of the economic impact and return. So you pay up front, or some do them like on a quarterly or kind of on a schedule. And basically, you're investing in the farm, and so they have the resources to pay their staff, to plant their crops, to work. And then as the harvest comes, every week, generally, with my CSA at least, you go to the farm. You have 2 options, 2 days. And the way mine works, I really like, there's some they'll just give you a box, but mine you have like a really big bag, a canvas bag, and it has your name on it.
Okay.
And some things are unlimited, like, do you love the carrots?
Right.
As many carrots as you want. Or when the tomatoes are first coming out, it's like each family gets 2 big heirloom tomatoes.
Early.
Yeah. Or the strawberry, sometimes the pints are unlimited. I mean, it just varies. Some things are unlimited. It's pick your own. Some are already picked for you. Okay. But you get to sort through your preferences. But also I always take things that that aren't my go-to.
You're like, let's do some kohlrabi. Why not?
Yeah. I love cauliflower, but it's like last time we got so much cauliflower. So I was like, okay, well, what are we going to do with this? And then they have herbs, and you can pick flowers, and it's neat. Just so lovely. So and you get to connect with community there and eat seasonally, which I'm so into.
Very California, local, fresh, seasonal.
Yeah.
Right.
And then take it home and know exactly where it comes from. I love that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So and I know they're all around the country.
Yeah.
Now they're a lot easier here because we have more temperate weather, and probably I'm sure in the
They can last longer. Yeah.
Yeah. We were a member of a CSA when we first moved here, and it was great. Except it was a very wet winter for that farmer. And we called it the spring of never-ending kale because all we got was kale.
It's just kale.
It was so much kale. Anyway, she stopped farming and became a county supervisor. So that's what happens. But it was a really good introduction to my kids, had the chance to see little baby goats.
Oh,
and, do the whole thing out there. And it was fun. All right, so you have the winter event. What you guys also have, and for people who are listening to this, you have a famous one. Actually, famous. I think it's cute. The springtime one, which is called like Bees and Babies and Barn.
It's called, you're very close. It's Blossoms, Bees, and Barnyard Babies.
Oh, thank you. Lots of bees in there.
Yes, we call it B4 internally.
Right. And so Blossoms, Bees, and Barnyard Babies.
Yeah.
And that's usually around March time, April?
It is usually,
May?
It's usually May. Sometimes we've done it in April, and then it's always kind of hit or miss with the weather.
Right,
So
right.
it's late April, early May.
Okay. And that's springtime. People often think of farms because baby ducklings, baby chickens, baby goats, and we're starting to think more outdoors anyway.
lambs.
Oh, it's so cute. I love that
cute.
one. And so what people do they don't, it doesn't cost money, but you do, I think, have to reserve a space, right?
Yes, we require an RSVP online. So for a couple of reasons. One is that if there are any tour changes or updates, we want to be able to communicate with the public, and then we send out a program and a map, an itinerary, details about all the offerings.
Is it a defined loop they have to do?
No, it's completely self-directed.
Okay.
So it's like choose your own adventure.
I love it.
And you will have, between 25 and sometimes as many as 40 members participating.
Okay.
And they, besides just the benefit and the joy of getting to connect with the farmer and see maybe see the animals if they have baby animals, maybe see them being born. That happens a lot.
Yes, that happened on one of the tours.
Yeah.
That was dramatic.
Yeah. We love it when that
traumatic, but yes.
And but also most of the farmers will offer special tours or workshops or classes. So it is an educational experience too.
Okay.
And it's like buy some food or bring some food and have a picnic.
Right.
They often open up their property for people to really just enjoy. And
I think I've seen food trucks at some farms. I'm trying
sometimes,
to remember. Okay.
So yeah, and if one farm is too packed, there's another one down the road. You just kind of it's too much to manage. It's too complicated.
It becomes very complicated to do.
To try to force people into slots. So it's much more organic.
Especially if people kind of get lost in the little back roads of Sonoma County. Sometimes you have to, have some patience.
Yeah. And I should say here that not all of our members are open to the public.
Oh, right. Okay.
So because it's a seasonal farm tour, either in the spring or in the fall, we do weekends along the farm trails. Those are participating members.
Right.
So that's why we have a very special program and map and an online
Yeah, it makes sense.
directory where you can actually plot your itinerary and it'll shoot out directions for you. But not all of our members participate in those tours. And even the Farm Trails at its inception was made up of farm stands that were open to the public because the landscape has changed so much in terms of the markets that not all of our members are even regularly open to the public.
Got it.
So sometimes it's a special occasion that they'll open up for a tour.
Right.
Some of them, like Liberty Ducks, who we love.
Oh, right.
Because of safety concerns, they can't have the public tramping onto their property.
If you're a dairy, let's say, and you have 100 cows, I don't know if you've seen this. Cows are fairly large animals, and if you bring your kids out there into a field, you don't want that.
Not in the field.
No. So you want to respect what's open to the public and what's not.
Yeah.
And I like that. Just because I have to explain it to people sometimes, just because it says farm trails doesn't mean you can barge onto a farm.
Yeah.
It's sort of. People can't barge into your place of work all the time. Yeah. Although some of the stores, like I think Andy's out there in Sebastopol, is a Farm Trails member, maybe.
They're like a partner member.
Yeah. So that's a store you can go buy local produce from.
For sure. Any member that has like a retail storefront,
they're open.
Yeah, and please go see them.
Yeah.
But for the more private.
Yeah.
Farms.
Actual farmers out there, farming stuff. I love this. This is good. I told you we're going to do a commercial.
Okay.
You ready to do the commercial?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what we do. I'm going to give you this is about a product that we have available. Okay. And we do the commercials because my dad listens to this podcast and says, hey, you should do commercials.
Yeah.
So this is for my dad. Okay. So this is about the Sonoma Plaza Tasting Pass, and I'm just going to kind of riff. We're going to riff, and we're just going to go. So ready? Hey, Carmen, I just got into town, and I'm looking for an easy way to visit 11 possible wineries. What do you think I should do?
Oh, the Sonoma Plaza Tasting Pass for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard that I can get, for one price, $69, the ability to go to 3 different wineries.
That sounds like a deal.
That sounds like a deal.
Yeah.
3 of the 11, and it's on your phone. You don't need to get a paper or anything like that. You just pay for it online, and you get an email, and then you can just go start visiting wineries.
And do they just Do you have to sign up for a time slot?
No, thanks for asking. You get 24 hours to use it from the time you first start your first tasting. You have 24 hours to complete it. So some people come up here on the afternoon, they hit, let's say they go to Palm Cider. And they do a tasting there with Rick and it's 5 o'clock. Don't worry. You have until tomorrow, the next day at 5 o'clock to finish.
Oh,
Yeah,
I like that.
that's a good deal.
That's a good deal.
And they're all within near the plaza or southern Sonoma Valley. And you can purchase them 60 days ahead of time. And you can go to sonomavalley.com for more information.
Wonderful. That sounds like a great bargain. A really good way to get the most from your visit to Sonoma.
You're hired. You're hired. Did you ever think you could be doing voiceover ads? See, you did it. You just did your first. Have you done an ad before in your life?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, but I do them. I have a.
Oh, shoot.
I don't ad lib. I don't ad lib them.
Someone just doesn't throw something at you like, "Hey, let's do an ad." You can totally do that. What did you study? Like marketing or something like that in school? No.
English literature.
English literature. That's going to doom you to a life of working like in tourism. I'll let you know that. And doing podcasts.
Yeah, I actually had a little bit of an allergy to marketing in a past life.
Because you were a purist, weren't you? You were into sonnets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was an English teacher originally. That was my first career.
What grades?
First high school, and then I moved to middle school. So I've taught 6th through 12th.
Wow. How many mental scars do you have?
I loved it so much.
Really?
Yeah, I really did.
What was your favorite book to teach?
Hamlet.
Great one.
I did Hamlet with all of my students.
Okay.
And then I loved To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. The Martian Chronicles.
I love that one. Especially the Martian Chronicles. There's that one book, where everyone's left and the home's automatic and everything keeps moving and going like that. I just remember this one story. And I remember the people from Ohio blasting off in their rockets. Ray Bradbury is fantastic. Yeah. He's a great writer.
Yeah. But I quickly learned when I started working at Farm Trails, because it is a marketing co-op essentially. And people were always talking about branding, and there's something in me that just thought that was like somehow just slick and manipulative.
Right. You got like an eye twitch, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And however, when we started producing materials for the various tours and the posters for the Apple Fair and the imagery, which I like to kind of art direct those, I got just kind of, I don't know, viscerally or palpably that the words you use, the colors you choose, the palette you create, the images, it has impact. And it wasn't so much about trying to, it didn't feel manipulative anymore. Right. It was like, oh, I'm doing a tuning fork. Like we want the people to come who are drawn to this. And so now I have a very different perspective about marketing, or at least in the way I navigate it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it used to be a little bit different there. Can you tap on your microphone to make sure it's still going? Okay, good. Phew, I thought this was way. I too majored in English. That was my thing, and I too was a substitute teacher for a while.
Oh yeah.
And as a substitute teacher, I thought I would be, the English teacher, but I was like the shop teacher, Spanish teacher, right, the health teacher. You're everything but what you're going to do there. And when I started doing marketing, I'm like, oh my God, this is it's debased. This is the wrong way to use this language. I can't believe we're doing this. But then it's like so fun. Yeah. We're actually telling stories.
Yeah.
And, I think Hamlet was trying to figure out what to do with his life and stuff like that, and gripped by indecision. And you can kind of like, oh, that actually applies to marketing. Like, do I do this or do that? Or how do I do that?
Yes.
So, not direct, it's not a one-to-one analogy here, but.
I get it. I suffer from... I'm a Libra too.
What should I do?
Choices.
What should I do? That's funny. Okay. Yeah. I always wonder how people end up in these kind of jobs, especially ones with these associations that you didn't know were an option when you were a kid.
Yeah. It never occurred to me, but for me too, when you're a school teacher, you have instant community. And I grew up in the South and just south of Asheville where I was teaching. So I knew so many people, and I moved out here and really didn't know anybody. And so, like I said, I wanted to connect first to the farmers, and then it's amazing how that community has opened
kind of embraced
up for me.
Yeah. Let me ask you, growing up in South Carolina, what's the proper way to make pork barbecue? Is it vinegar based or is it ketchup based?
In South Carolina is ketchup based. North Carolina is more vinegar based. I do not make pork barbecue.
Okay. But which person's? Go ahead.
Do I eat it?
Right, no, you don't eat it anymore. But which one's wrong?
Oh, both right. People, I'm not. I don't have the.
No, you don't get in that one.
Mm-mm.
What? Okay. And what else would I eat if I'm in South Carolina? Like, what's a good South
for
Carolina
me,
dish? Yeah.
fried okra,
Fried okra.
grits,
Okay.
boiled shrimp.
Oh, okay.
Those boiled peanuts. Have you had boiled peanuts?
Boiled
before?
peanuts. I spent a
love
summer
boiled
in
peanuts.
Tallahassee, which northern Florida is very southern, and they would sell it on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And my aunt and uncle pulled over. We're gonna get some boiled peanuts.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, they're like these weird, slippery, slimy, salty deliciousness.
You put them in your mouth.
Yeah,
Crack them out. Don't eat the shell. My niece eats the shell.
Well,
I'm
you
like,
gotta
how do
shoot
you?
in
No,
there.
you don't
No.
do that.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. They don't do that up here. We should bring
No,
it back.
I ordered them sometime from the south.
Really?
And boil them myself. Yeah.
So you order the peanuts and you boil them in salted water,
Yep.
and then while they're still kind of warm, you just kind of scoop them and eat them.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's it. Or they I like them cold too, so you can
okay.
put them in the
yeah.
fridge.
It's almost like well, here's
Edamame, I love.
that's exactly edamame. The California version is
Yeah,
edamame,
yeah.
which I love. Yeah, Southern food had like a big resurgence about 10 to 15 years ago, kind of around the country, right? And all of a sudden, everything was biscuits and stuff like that. That was a good times, I thought, in American culinary history.
Yeah, and grits too. Although often it's called polenta out here, but there's an organic mill in South Carolina that I used to order grits from.
Okay.
And then I remember Shed used to have them on the menu,
yeah.
and several
Are
restaurants.
you a cheesy grits person, or are you like this? You are.
Cheesy grits?
I've also had people call them candy grits, which was with jelly.
No. Mm-mm. Not for me. Mm-mm.
I was like, what are you putting in your grits? These, of course, are Waffle House stories, which I think are also in South Carolina.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not out here, unfortunately.
No Waffle House.
No Waffle House.
Yeah, that's an all-night place.
That is, they get more interesting as the evening goes on.
Exactly.
As you get closer to sunrise, they get really interesting. Okay, you've answered all the questions about farm trails.
Yes.
You've told me about being an English teacher. We've discussed Martian Chronicles.
Yes.
We're at the portion of the podcast now where you're going to help me answer questions
okay.
from visitors. Do you want to get them ahead of time, or do you want me just to read them to you?
Oh my. I think I want them ahead of time.
You do? Okay, so put them on there. Good, you got it. And I'll do a little intro, and then we're gonna rip right into it. So you ready?
Yes.
So, Carmen, we have 2 visitor centers. People call us, they text us, they email us, they direct message us, they send us TikToks, and they're going to ask us questions. Right now, I am deputizing you in the visitor center because you're going to help me with the segment we call We Get Questions.
Are you going to help me with it too, though?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're like a volunteer now.
Okay.
We won't leave you hanging.
Okay.
Right, here's the first question. Hi. Are there any year-round farmers markets in Sonoma?
Sonoma County or Sonoma Town? Can we clarify?
So thank you for asking that. So we'll say Sonoma County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, there are.
Good.
Yes.
Good. There are. Yeah. The matter of fact, there's one in Sonoma Town. We've got one here on Fridays. We have a farmer's market at Depot Park. There's one I know for sure in Santa Rosa. There's 2 in Santa Rosa that are year round. I think they're year round. The one at the Luther Burbank Center and the one at the Farmers Lane Shopping Center. I think Sebastopol might be year round.
Yes.
Is it? Okay. Because those people.
Occidental is seasonal.
Occidental is seasonal, and then Bodega is seasonal. Healdsburg is seasonal. So those are the ones. And Petaluma might be year-round. I'm not sure. Or Runner Park. But yeah, there are year-round farmers markets, and I bet you there's 2 places I would look for more information. I would go to farmtrails.org. Thank you for information. And also SonomaValley.com has it for Sonoma Valley, and then SonomaCounty.com has it for the rest of the county. So yeah, that was an easy question, wasn't it?
That was an easy one.
Yeah, that's easy. Look at you. You're doing open book. I love this.
I'm not hooked up to the internet, though.
Oh, you're not? Oh, yeah.
But I will direct people to our website.
You should. You should go right to the website. It's right there. Here's another one we got. They were from Quebec.
Oh, uh-huh.
We are looking for Cabernet Franc. So that's a wine varietal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would have to assume that we have
We do.
amazing Cabernet Franc. I don't personally know.
Right. There are a lot of wineries that have it. And what I would do is if you go to the visitor center, we have a grid of the major varietals that you can find there. But a lot of wineries, it's not as common as, say, Merlot or Cabernet Sauvignon, but you can find Cab Franc here at a lot of wineries. So don't worry.
And
we've
probably
got
in
it.
eastern or northern
Yeah,
county
now
because
now I'm actually going to do what I would normally do quietly when they weren't looking.
of
I Google it underneath the counter. Right. I'm like, oh yeah, Cabernet Franc. And I knew as I was leaving for the podcast, I'm like, I should have looked this one up before, but ready? Here we go. Chateau St. Jean has it. See, there you go. That was easy. Joseph Jewell, Annabelle Wines. Gunlock Bunchu, Gun Bun. That's a great one. They're a good one.
that's good.
And you know what? They have this beautiful, like, kind of natural amphitheater of grapes, and it's so beautiful over there. I love it. Okay, good.
Have you ever gone to a concert there?
You know what's funny? I publicize them all the time. Never been to one of their concerts. Are they good?
So good. I saw Gillian Welch and David Rawlings there.
Are you a musician?
Amazing. No, but I just love
I
music.
feel like in North Carolina, like you picked
Everybody,
up
I would sing.
the mandolin or something like
Yeah,
that. Or like the washboard.
yeah.
Okay. You would sing?
Spoons.
Yeah, you would play
I'll sing.
spoons. Like you can for people who aren't watching it, you are wearing kind of overalls, so you should just pull out some spoons right now. Circle to go. All right, here's another question.
Okay.
Hey, we've been staying in Napa and are on our way to San Francisco tonight and decided to stop in Sonoma. And wow, this is a great place to visit. We're looking for a great place to grab brunch in the town of Sonoma. Yeah. And you could ask for help on this one.
Yeah, you would know that better than I, unfortunately. I'm sure you have amazing.
Sunflower Cafe is a great brunch. So I would go there. Valley has great brunch. These are all good spots right here in the town of Sonoma. And you can go grab a really good one. So yeah, that's good. See, good job. You're hired. How about this one? What's in Kenwood?
Regional parks.
Okay, good. Yes. They just walked up. They go, "What's in Kenwood?"
Yeah.
And we're like, "Okay." So you're right. There's some great regional parks, some good state parks up there.
Yeah.
There's some good restaurants
Sugarloaf,
up there.
right?
Sugarloaf,
Is that-
yeah. Are you a hiker?
I like to hike. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sugarloaf is kind of an aggressive. If you like big hikes.
Yeah, I did that one time.
Oh
That
yeah,
was-
up to the rock up there. Yeah, beautiful view,
Yeah.
but it's longer than it looks. I would recommend doing it in the winter. In the summer, it gets kind of hot, but that's a great hike up there. There's also a good restaurant, Golden Bear Station. Palooza is up there. Salt and Stone is a good restaurant up there. Wineries wise, Chateau St. Jean. There's a whole bunch. VJB. St. Francis is nearby. Yeah, St. Francis has a great garden. I mean, they must be a Farm Trails member.
They are.
Okay.
And, who am I thinking of? I can't remember them. They're biodynamic and they've got the.
Landmark. Biodynamic. Benziger. They're in Glen Ellen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nearby. Yeah, that's good. And you can that tour is really good. You can learn about the biodynamic Rudolf Steiner movement, stuff like that. So, okay, here's another one. The same Quebecois people ask this question. It's late fall, and we still see some grapes on the vines. Why is that?
I think they are all harvested by now if they're going to go to wine production. Is that true?
Most of the grapes that are going to become grapes of wine have been harvested. Some might be still hanging for late harvest. There's a guy, Moira Estate Winery, who makes this
Like the Zinfandel late harvest?
like late harvest, like super
So
sugary,
good,
gets really
yeah.
good. So not super sugary, but the sugars develop more, and they actually start to kind of they start to turn almost like a raisin, and then you harvest them, and that's how you get a sweeter port wine. But they sell those in smaller bottles because they get a little strong. So they'll go right to your head. You're right. Some people might not be harvesting those grapes. They might be like, we're not going to make that much wine, but they're out there, so we're just going to let them hang and the birds can enjoy them. Another guy, though, he dries his grapes into almost raisins, and then he gets them wet again, and he makes wine out of it. It's a really neat Italian process that he does.
I haven't heard
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, it's a really
Well,
neat thing. So
Education for me.
there you go. Here's people from Canada came in, and they asked us this one. That's okay. We have someone in our group that is under 21. What should we do? Can they still go to a winery?
It possibly depends on the winery, but I don't think it's illegal to go to a winery. Like I know Ellen at Tilton Shed has a tasting room, and they have kids activities.
They do.
For
She has kids.
she has kids.
Yeah.
She has a kid.
Yeah.
Teenager now.
Making them work.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So, I mean, especially like a winery that has, like we were just talking about, like an interesting biodynamic or pollinator garden tour.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you could go.
That could be good. Of course, we have Schultz Museum. We should mention that.
Of course, there's the Schultz Museum. It's a fantastic spot. So as you go to the very northern part of Sonoma Valley and go into Santa Rosa, the biggest city, Charles M. Schultz Museum is there. And actually, if you have babies, the Children's Museum is right next door to it. And that's also worthwhile. But the Schultz Museum is cool because it's not just about Peanuts and Charlie Brown and Snoopy. It's the art of the comic book.
Yeah.
So they bring in like really famous graphic artists, and they do shows and they do open workshops. And the guy who did Pearls Before Swine, Stefan Pastis, he was a lawyer for that company and got into cartooning.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and that's why the whole joke is sometimes he has lawyers as like the bad guys. In his
Yeah.
He also has Jeff the cyclist, who's like a recurring bad guy, but I guess Stefan rides his bike everywhere. So yeah, that's a great place to go visit if you're into that stuff and you're under 21 or over 21. I'm barely over 21 and I love going. But the quick answer is yes, you don't have to be 21 to visit most wineries. You do have to be 21 to drink. Most wineries, so this is different than tasting rooms, which are just, retail shops sort of. A winery is usually quite large. So if you roll up on one and your kid's got a book and they want to sit in the corner and be moody and read their book, they can do that. We have space for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Here's one then. Ready? We want to go take a walk in a vineyard. Can we go do that?
I would say, like, similar to not, even though a vineyard is open, like go to the tasting room and check in and let them know you're there. But it's my experience that that's a wonderful place to take a walk, and they mostly welcome that.
Right. Absolutely.
But you would just want to like be considerate.
Like check in first. So it's not like you're driving and you just see a vineyard. You should go run out in the vineyard because it's sort of like someone just running through your workspace. You don't know if there's tractors moving around or if something's happening. But there are a couple places where you are encouraged to walk in a vineyard. We mentioned St. Francis has a vineyard walk, and that's self-guided. And you check in at the tasting room, and they give you like, oh, go right over there. And they have little signs that describe what's happening, especially around pruning season or when the mustard's growing, and that's encouraged. But it's not encouraged you just run into random vineyards. You should ask.
Yes. And what is it? Is it? How am I forgetting their name again?
It'll come to you.
The one that has the lavender farm out here too. Starts with an M.
Bennett Valley? No, Matanzas Creek. Matanzas Creek, which is in Bennett Valley. Yeah. Okay. You can walk in the vineyard there. Yeah. Almost every winery that has a tasting room, you can go in there, and they often have a little area that you can see, vines.
And they often have bocce, and
that's fun.
It's kind of
I know. Bocce's a very big thing.
Yeah.
Did you play a lot of bocce as a kid?
Never.
No.
Never.
And now we can all become like old Italian men and just play bocce all the time.
Shuffleboard and bocce.
Have you seen them by the on Friday Farmers Market here in Sonoma? The bocce crew is out, and they have the courts right there, and they don't talk to the petanque people because never the twain shall meet, right? But there's money. There is money changing hands.
Really?
I swear, you heard it here first because I watch those guys and the way they're so intense.
Wagering.
There has got to be money on the bocce going there. But you answered all the questions. Look at that. You're amazing. That was easy.
That was easy. Except, I didn't know everything, but
you're not supposed to. You're helping out. You're part of it there. Carmen, if people want more information about farm trails, do you have a website?
We do. We have a wonderful searchable website. You can find and access the information on our website in many different ways, be it map or alphabetically or searching products. It's farmtrails.org.
Okay, I appreciate it.
And then our summer festival is gravensteinapple.com.
Oh, right. Okay, so it's separate.
It's its own website.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's worth seeing the Gravenstein Apple Fair. If you're here, you got to
absolutely
see it.
Yeah.
Also, you guys have this great map and guide. I know we have them in our visitor center. I think they're all around the county. And yeah, so that's how people can get their hands on one.
Visitor centers, libraries, some of our farms carry them.
Okay.
You can always email us and we'll send you one. And this is isn't it cute? This is I
like it.
Our 51st anniversary, and we'll have a new one coming out this spring.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Don't you love doing all those printed materials? It's so little work. It's so easy. And after you I should say, we have our own visitor guide. And after you get 50,000 of them done, and then someone goes, hey,
We got
page 23.
You've got the wrong phone number.
Yes. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to put
yours
stickers
is
on that.
more.
Ours is just general, everything to do in Sonoma Valley. So after you go to farmtrails.org and the gravensteinappleffair.com, org.net, edu.
Gravensteinappleffair.com.
Yeah. We encourage you go to sonomavalley.com for deals, special offers, and events. And if you ask for one of these visitor guides, I'll have a government employee deliver it to your door.
Really?
Yeah, for free. We'll do that.
What government employee?
Hey, Postal Service.
Oh.
So thank you, Carmen. Thank you. I've been trying that one for weeks. Thank you, Carmen. I'll bring you back on the Dad Jokes episode. Okay. Carmen, wonderful having you on the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for stopping by.
Nice to chat with you.
And for everyone else, please, again, go to the Farm Trails and go to their website and check out what they're doing. Go to our website. Mom and Dad, thanks for listening. Larry, hope you like this version. And Larry, I know you're in North Carolina, so hope you're doing well. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.